Hello everybody, right, we haven't posted any videos of us driving our Daimler Ferret armoured car around recently. The reason for that is because we've had a coolant leak, so we've had to replace the radiator. That's not quite the same as it would be on a Ford Cortina. It takes a bit of doing. So I thought we'd give the opportunity to give you a run round of a Rolls Royce B60 MK6A 6-cylinder inline engine. So here we have it over here. Quick tour of the engine. As fitted. Here's where the radiator would go. So here we have the new radiator down here, waiting to go in. Super duper new, or NOS, new old stock radiator. This is the old one over here that leaks too much, so we can't use that. Take that out, and we've taken that out and put that away. Back to the engine. Right. So run around the engine a bit at a time. Here's the petrol tank filler, which is under the cover, so it's nice and safe. The petrol tank goes all the way across to here. Takes 21 gallons, so we've got 18 gallons and a 3-gallon reserve. This is the carburetor. It's a Solex NNIP. The air intake for it is this pipe here that goes all the way to an oil cooler, which you might just be able to see under there. An oil bath, sorry. An old bath that sits in the crew compartment, so all the air that the engine uses gets sucked out of the crew compartment. So if it's completely closed up, it's all nice and safe. It has the Solex has adjustments for altitude, so you can change it if you're going to work up top of a mountain or something like that. It has a few adjustments there for different things. There's your actuator with a linkage that goes all the way down to the foot panel there, foot pedal. This is a bar that keeps the sides steady while the suspension's working. So as the weight of this engine's going up and down with the suspension, this stops the sides from coming in and braking. Here is an oil cooler. The way this engine works is that the fan down here blows the air past the radiator and out of the back, so it sucks the air in to cool the engine through the covers, the hinged covers that sit on the top. So it sucks the air in over this oil cooler, and the pipes go down to the engine and back, so that helps keep the oil cool. Down here we have an alternator. Some had a generator. The ones with a generator, it would have been geared so that you could, at low revs, the gearing comes in and keeps the speed up on this, so it generates enough power to run the radio. Ours is an alternator, which is a better system, a bit more reliable and more power coming out, so we don't need the gearing. This is just a standard 12-volt coil, except that it's in a case and it's completely waterproofed, as is the whole engine, and screened, as is the complete ignition system. All of the ignition is screened so it doesn't interfere with the radio. This has an oil bath down the bottom, an oil reservoir down at the bottom here. This is just a breather pipe for it. It is a dry sump system, so all the oil that drops into the sump is scavenged out and pumped into this reservoir. Right, so at the back here we have the fan, and this is where the radiator would go. Over this side, move my roving lamp about. Over this side, if you can get down there. We have the distributor. which is also completely waterproofed and completely screened. I'll just say 6-cylinder inline. These are just breather pipes because it's all sealed and waterproof. To allow the expansion and contraction of the air inside it, you have these breather pipes that go into the inlet, so it lets the air in and out of the thing as it changes temperature. Down here we have the oil filter. The exhaust manifold here is obviously fixed to the engine. The engine can move, it vibrates, it's on rubber mountings, so it can actually vibrate a bit. But this end of the exhaust manifold is bolted to the hull. So to allow for the movement, these pipes here are completely loose between the two. And as the engine warms up, these heat up and expand and form a slightly better seal. But to start off with, you get loads of exhaust fumes, but luckily they all get sucked in and blown through the radiator and out the back rather than going into the crew compartment. This is a 4.3 litre straight six engine. It has a 4.5 inch stroke and a 3.5 inch bore, so it generates lots of torque but not so much power. You get about 100 brake horsepower out of it, but about 195 foot-pounds of torque. It's a very low compression ratio, 6.4 to 1. It will run on 2-star petrol if necessary, but we put Supreme unleaded E5 petrol in, about 97 octane, something like that, which makes it run much better. So to get to this engine, put this down for a minute. To get to this engine, you have to remove the engine cover, which is that big bit over there, which weighs quite a bit. So you have to lift that off. Then you have this louver here that the hot air comes out of. Which also weighs a fair amount. And then, having done that, you remove this rear plate that goes here, the skid plate, which also weighs quite a bit because it's all armour plated. It has some lights attached, but luckily the cables are quite long, so you can take this out and drop it on the floor if necessary to do the work. This is the exhaust pipe on the outside, largish thing, into a fishtail, and that's about it. So the next stage is replacing all the hoses with brand new hoses, which we've got, putting the new radiator in, run the engine as it is just to test it for leaks, and then put all the plates back in and the cover for the exhaust to keep your hands off the hot bit, and then we'll be doing some videos of us driving it on the road and testing it. Thank you.